Michael Jordan was once hailed as a basketball god, and even though he might seem like the most serious dude on the field, these hilarious moments would make you reconsider his whole persona. Reggie Miller.
Ball. Now Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller having a go at it.
If there's one thing we need to understand about the legendary Indiana Pacers shooter Reggie Miller, it's that he absolutely loved running his mouth and trash-talking against his opponent. Reggie had built his entire reputation and Hall of Fame career on getting inside the heads of his opponents, making them feel worked up. Despite overlapping in the league for nearly 2 decades, he adopted a strict policy of absolute silence whenever he shared the floor with the Chicago Bulls legend. Fans often wonder what it was like for these two people to guard each other. They only met once in the playoffs, which was some of the most brutal Simon game wars. But Reggie always maintained that Jordan was the ultimate measuring stick for greatness. Reggie knew that he had to bring his absolute best in the game every single night because Jordan was the only player in the whole league who could completely embarrass a defender like him and then laugh about it while dropping millions of points. Because of this reality, Reggie refused to speak a single word of trash to him. He would always observe Jordan closely. The Bulls guard shared a rare psychopathic mental trait with icons like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. They were willing to win by whatever was necessary, while capable of ripping an opponent's heart out for looking the wrong way. Reggie chose survival over pride and kept his lips zipped, which is so funny considering that he was always a player who couldn't help but be a loudmouth against other players. Eddie Johnson.
Played the night before, traveled that day. I was stiff as a board. He would not. It was Scottie Pippen in the room, Horace Grant. I mean, we just playing this game called Tongue, okay? And we just going at it.
While Reggie knew how to keep his mouth shut, his own team had completely missed this little advice during a meaningless afternoon game. Eddie Johnson had to learn the most painful lesson in basketball in the most absurd way possible during the historic season where the Bulls were charging towards 73 wins. They faced the Pacers in a sluggish, slow, low-stakes afternoon game. Both teams were already playoff-bound, and the intensity in the building was almost nothing. But late in the fourth quarter, the Pacers had built a comfortable 8-point lead. Eddie was standing at the free throw line waiting to shoot when he made the most catastrophic mistakes of his whole life. He looked over at Jordan and playfully suggested that the aging superstar should just go over and take a seat on the bench since the game was basically over. Jordan did not respond with words. He simply turned his head and locked his eyes with Eddie. According to Eddie, that was the moment when the whole atmosphere inside the arena changed. That lazy afternoon vibe just vanished and was replaced with some of the most intense vibes he had ever seen in a game.
Tom took the bet. Oh no. So he starts the game and he just going nuts. I'm over there still stiff. I got heat packs under my clothes.
Jordan suddenly became diving across the hardwood, stealing passes, and hitting less common and completely impossible fadeaway jumpers. He was also furious that a role player dared to suggest that he should sit down, and in a matter of seconds, that 8-point lead Indiana had just gotten decimated into a 1-point nail-biter. That's when Larry Brown called a timeout, and the Pacers scrambled to the bench, gasping for air. Antonio Davis even grabbed Eddie and frantically demanded to know if he had provoked the beast himself. When Eddie quietly admitted what he did, his coach stared at him in pure horror, and everyone was utterly baffled by such a suicidal decision. It turned out provoking Michael Jordan during a basketball game was the worst idea, but there is a guy who challenged Larry in such a way that he would never forget it. Charles Barkley.
How different would your career have been if you weren't drafted and played in the era of Michael Jordan?
Charles Barkley was supposedly one of Jordan's closest friends during their playing days, which means that he always got front row seats to some of his most unhinged competitive moments. During the famous Dream Team Olympic run, a group of players went out for a casual round of golf in the blazing Puerto Rican sun. After finishing 18 holes in the early afternoon, Barkley began packing up his clubs, reminding everyone that they had a professional basketball game to play later in the evening. Jordan simply waved him off, insisting that he was going to play another full 18 holes. Barkley thought it was a joke, But Jordan still played 36 holes of golf in extreme heat later that night. The Dream Team also gathered in the locker room to go over some team assignments. That's where Coach Chuck Daly began handing out matchups, assigning players to the opposing shooting guards and forwards. When Daly got to Jordan, the superstar flatly refused his assignment. Instead, he demanded to guard the opposing point guard. From there, the room went completely into confusion, and Daly even tried to correct him, pointing out the size mismatch, which was absurd. But Jordan leaned forward with a dead-eyed stare. He explained that the opposing point guard had made a mild comment about him in the local newspaper that morning and that he wanted to seek absolute vengeance.
That first day, I said, guys, I think I'm the best basketball player in the world. We're going to play the Bulls for the championship. Michael Jordan just has some more help. I'm just as good as him. They look at me like I'm crazy.
Maybe it looked like pettiness to you, but Barkley then looked over at Karl Malone and whispered that the poor kid was in serious trouble. Sure enough, after walking on a golf course all day, Jordan went out and destroyed the opposing point guard with full court pressure for the entire game. He was repeatedly warning the terrified player not to mention his name to the media ever again. Maybe you think a golf course all day would tire a normal human being, but for Jordan, it was just a warm-up for 5 0-point destruction. Jeremy Roenick.
Did you gamble with Jordan on the course?
So I got a good story. I don't know if I should tell it on the radio, but screw it,
no
I'll
one
tell
listens
it.
to our
I'll
show.
tell it.
Before we reveal the mass destruction coming next, subscribe to the channel now because the next few moments are going to be full-on hilarious. Jeremy Roenick was a legendary professional hockey player, and he has a story that basically proved Jordan's superhuman endurance back in the 90s. Jeremy received an early morning phone call from none other than Jordan, inviting him to play at a local country club for a round of golf. Jeremy had a day off, so he happily went along. They played the first 18 holes, and Jeremy ended up beating the basketball legend for a couple of $1,000s. As the morning turned into the afternoon, Jeremy started packing his bag, knowing well that the Chicago Bulls were scheduled to play the Cleveland Cavaliers that very night, but Jordan refused to leave. He wanted a rematch, and they filled a massive golf bag entirely with ice and cheap canned beer, proceeding to walk another 18 holes. Jeremy played out of his mind and beat Jordan a second time, taking even more cash. By this point, the sun was already setting, and they had been drinking all day. Jordan also had to head straight to the stadium to play the professional sporting event. Feeling completely confident and slightly tipsy, Jeremy decided to poke the bear. He joked that he was going to call his bookmaker to wager all his golf winnings on Cleveland, assuming that Jordan would be far too exhausted and intoxicated to play well.
He goes, I'll bet you that we win by 20 points and I have more than 40. I'm like, done. Son of a gun goes out.
Jordan did not even blink. He immediately offered a counter wager, betting Jeremy that the Bulls would win by more than 20 points and that he would personally score more than 40. That night, after 6 holes of golf and a dozen beers, Jordan stepped onto the hardwood and dropped 52 points, not only winning the match, but winning the bet against Jeremy Roenick as well. Even though professional athletes always learned by being around Michael Jordan, there was this one moment where an arrogant kid had to learn the lesson the hard way, so he would never mock the king in his own castle. Derek. The summers after filming his famous Alien basketball movie, Jordan had a massive private court built for him, specifically in a Los Angeles studio lot, just so he could stay in shape. NBA players flew in across the country just to play on his private pickup teams. But eventually, that competition was way too easy for him, so he was looking for a new challenge, and he reached out to Magic Johnson and asked him to send over some young, energetic college kids from UCLA. Magic Johnson recruited a fiery local guard named Derek Martin and a few of his childhood friends to head down to the studio lot. During the tight game, played to 7 points, the score was tied. Already, Derek caught the ball on the wing on a fast break. From there, he shot off faith, causing Jordan to jump out of his shoes, and then drove past the legend for a game-winning layup. The moment the ball cleared the net, the young kid was absolutely lost for his mind. He started screaming on top of his lungs, claiming he dethroned the greatest players of all time, and even yelled that Los Angeles was his city and taunted Jordan by declaring that Magic Johnson was the only real MJ and not my Jordan. Derek was becoming so aggressively loud that his own towering teammate physically lifted him off the ground, climbing a head over his mouth, and begged him to stop signing his own death warrant. Naturally, Jordan switched the team for the next game and absolutely annihilated him, but the true revenge came months later. Fast forward to the actual NBA season. Derek was now a professional player playing for the Vancouver Grizzlies, and his team was also miraculously beating the mighty Chicago Bulls. Later in the fourth quarter, Derek hit a crucial shot, putting his team up by 9 points. Jordan was having a miserable, exhausting night, missing all of his shots but feeling the adrenaline of the upset. Derek walks away past the Chicago bench and loudly reminds Jordan about their summer encounter, bragging that he was about to deliver another beating. The Chicago head coach just looked at the rookie with a lot of pity. Jordan slowly bent down, tightened the shoelaces, discarded the towel, and marched back onto the court. He walked right up to the rookie and started going on an absolute rampage in the game, scoring nearly 24 points by erasing the deficit by himself. He then caught the ball in the post, executed the unguardable jumper, and sealed the victory without even pausing to celebrate. He immediately spun around, located Derek on the bench, and loudly demanded that he keep his young mouth permanently shut. Jamal Crawford. Let's talk about Jamal Crawford for a second. He was a legendary ball handler in his own game, and he got a terrifying glimpse into Jordan's competitive wrath during a series of private summer workouts. Jordan was pushing 40 years old and was preparing for his final NBA comeback. During his first little scramble together, their team lost Crawford. He expected the aging veteran to brush it off as meaningless summer exercise, but instead, Jordan retreated to the corner of the gym, radiating pure anger. He was sulking in silence, acting as though he had just lost a championship Game 7, but it was not that deep. The next afternoon, Crawford was scheduled to attempt the games at 2 o'clock, and over an hour earlier, his phone rang frantically. It was Jordan's personal trainer, demanding to know his location. Crawford explained that he was early, but the trainer insisted that he get to the gym immediately because Jordan was refusing to start the game until Crawford arrived, ensuring that they would be placed on the same team. From that moment, they never lost a single game together. That gym became legendary, attracting massive music stars like Jay-Z and Beyoncé just to watch their private plays. But the most revealing moment happened outside the facility, where a local street hustler approached the basketball icon holding a brown paper bag stuffed with cash. He was challenging them to gamble, and Jordan explained that he was short on time, but he offered to flip a single coin for the entire contents of the bag. The hustler was clearly intimidated and was just hoping to interact with the celebrity, suggesting investing a measly $100 bet instead. Jordan stared at the man with absolute disgust. He immediately declined and walked away, deeply insulted that anyone would dare waste his valuable time on such small amounts of money. He expected absolute high stakes in everything, so he roasted the poor guy. Jordan's ego was a delicate, highly explosive device, and everyone would experience it wherever they went. The magic of MJ is that he has such a straight face while he's joking. He doesn't even try to be funny, but in the end, his own actions turn him into one of the most hilarious basketball players ever. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, and if you want, leave your comments in the second part of this video down below.